Hello, Internet! In lieu of anything new coming out, I thought I'd take a minute to share my thoughts of this whole Brightest Day movement. So I'm just gonna kind of get to it. First off, I thought I'd go for the main book, Brightest Day, which is supposed to be bi-weekly, I suppose. I don't really know because I only picked up issue 0 and I hated it. I couldn't stand it. It was the first sign of Jeff Johns not only writing just really bad comic, but really just taking a whole movement and not doing something quality. I mean, you have all these different characters who've come back from beyond the grave, and instead of going, woohoo, I'm alive, I want to do something, or all right, let's party, or something, anything positive, all of them are racked with guilt. Why am I alive? Why was it me? Why wasn't it whoever else? And it's just like, because someone thinks you'll have the most plot development, and you're all white. Whatever. It's cool. But there's only one guy who's like, I'm cool with being alive, and that's Captain Boomerang, who's set up to be the douchebag, as he was one of two main bad guys that came back. And so it just seems so lame that you're demonizing the fact that someone wants to be alive. I mean, that's just a bad message, and frankly, it's just kind of lame. When you have all these characters reacting the same way, it's bad storytelling. So I just had to drop that right there. Now, in the main Green Lantern, it's starting to feel a little corny to me, but I'm still rolling with it. You have all the main representatives of the different corps all gathered up and talking together, and it feels like they should be in slightly more important positions, doing stuff separately, maybe contacting each other, but they're all on Earth. Gee whiz, let's find out what this thingamajig thing does that no one knows about. Tee hee, and then they get some clue, kind of arbitrarily, about, oh, you gotta catch all the color entities, woo! Now it's some fetch quests, and it sounds like they've been playing too many JRPGs. It's just kind of contrived. Then you have Lobo pop up at the end of last issue, which is cool, out of nowhere. Maybe it'll tie in a little better, but I don't know, the series is kind of corny, but it's kind of light, and after being so rooted and so serious for so long, a little bit of a breather is definitely warranted. But I don't know, if it doesn't pick up after a few months, I might just drop it, which would be sad because I had a friend who hooked me on Green Lantern a couple years back, and I'd just been loving every single issue since, with the exception of the art in the first Sapphire arc since Johns took over. But everything was just so great, and right now it just feels like it's kind of wandering kind of back to what a lot of people complained Green Lantern was before Johns took over. These oddball stories that kind of wandered through. Now, admittedly, a lot of the Kyle Rayner stuff that I went back and read did seem a bit more focused because you didn't have this core and you didn't have all the randomness that went on, which made it so much harder to follow. But now it's feels like it's fading a little. Now, Green Lantern Corps, the book that most likely could have been wandering, actually I feel is the strongest. They're taking little bits and pieces that happen right before Blackest Night to things that happen during, where you have Ganthet being like, we've been all rooted up here in our tower, and he wants to get out and actually do something, which I thought was actually great character progression, actually making someone who was more of a symbol than anything else an actual character and potential, which will be interesting to see. Then you also see the beginnings of Guy kind of starting to do his own thing, and I hear he's supposed to get his own books, so for now I'm on board with that, despite sounding like that might be a little bit too much Green Lantern going on, though to be fair, that's much different than saying too many Batman or Spider-Man books where you have the same character and over. You just have the same general theme going on, which is why I feel there can be a number of strong X books when they're written properly. But back on Green Lantern again, you also have the Alpha Lantern bit kind of coming to play, which they kind of did a good arc to touch on that, but it felt like it was never fully addressed. I'm glad that they're coming back to that now, and I'm just interested to see where it's all going. And you do have the potential for this kind of knit team within the core to kind of see more of what the Green Lantern story potential is than focusing on all the quirky stuff that gets associated with Hal. And I'm feeling this is definitely going to be, if you're going to be reading any Green Lantern book, the one to be picking up. Then you have all the peripheral stuff that's been rolled into Brightest Day, and some of that I just feel is starting to get contrived, and something that Marvel kind of started when they did the initiative thing, where you have these books with a banner on it, and because people want to buy everything in an event, it gets lumped in, but really they don't have much to do with each other. And the one that I'd excuse from this, outside of the Green Lantern stuff, is the Flash book. Flash was such a big part of Blackest Night, the way John set it up, and I have a feeling that probably will tie in. Honestly, I haven't been reading it because Barry Allen has always been one of my most hated characters on the basis that he's just generally so boring. Maybe the comic's doing well. If you've been hearing anything about that, let me know. And Birds of Prey, I was really excited to see that it restarted. Birds of Prey has been one of my favorite books ever since I started picking up when Gail Simone took over. But the fact that it's tied with Brightest Day is still kind of a loss for me. I know there's the Hawk Dove connection, having read the first issue, but beyond that, I don't see why. And the fact that they're thrown in with Birds of Prey right here doesn't really make sense. It just seems like an editorial mandate almost, but so far that's been working alright. I'd like to touch on that a little more in a later review. And then you also have some Justice League stuff tied in. They've been trying to bring up sales for that book since it's supposed to be a flagship title, and it's just not there. Then I've heard nothing but terrible things about the Titan special that was lumped in, though I couldn't speak to it because I only heard terrible things, so why would I want to pick it up? And then you have Green Arrow coming up soon, and whether or not that ties in well remains to be seen. The preview certainly didn't give any indication of that either way. Hopefully they can start writing Green Arrow a little more to what I think the character is strongest at, which was less of a superhero and more of this oddball vigilante, which I know is a fine line, but really made that character stick out. Hopefully some of this Brightest Day comes together and people will be telling me, nah man, you gotta check it out. I'm really hoping that happens, but I've been burned by weeklies before by DC, and I'd rather just stick to buying quality rather than what's the next big thing. But yeah, if you guys have any questions like, why is our Kilo in like every Brightest Day book? Or if you have any comments like, I really like Brightest Day, it's so amazing. Or if you just have some sort of jeers like, Matt, you're ugly, I'd agree with you. Just, put them below, let me know. And yeah, hopefully I'll catch you soon with another comic review.